Welcome back to Talk Ottawa. We're talking about how the 2013 budget at the City of Ottawa is going to impact in a number of different areas. We've talked about policing already, still to come transit. We'll talk now about social services, and we're joined for this segment by Aaron Burry, who is the General Manager of Community and Social Services at the City of Ottawa, and also City Councillor for Bay Ward, Mark Taylor, who is the Chair of the Community and Protective Services Committee. Welcome to both of you. Let's talk first about this whole issue of downloading and uploading, because it has a big impact on this area of the city budget. The province downloaded a bunch of things. It uploaded some things back to the province. There's talk that there could be more downloading coming. So maybe give us a bit of an overview of what that all means, Aaron.
So essentially what happened this year is, in addition to the welfare rates or rates that recipients receive, essentially the city has, on behalf of the province, managed a series of benefits that were previously cost shared 80-20. The province picked up 80% of the cost, we picked up 20. What they've done now is move it to a flat rate per client of $10, and that means about 50% less money coming in for next year from the province of Ontario to cover some very essential things for individuals.
So what are some of those things? Give us some examples.
A lot of the money goes for basic things which help people to maintain their housing. So it's to pay for electrical arrears, people who get behind in their rent and they get into an urgent situation. We're using those funds to help people stay housed. There's also a series of benefits, whether it's emergency dental care, help with eyeglasses, or another sundry items, if you'd like, that people who are on very low levels of income need assistance with in order to survive.
So the province is paying for less of that cost. Does that mean that the people who are receiving those benefits are going to get less, or is the city making up the difference?
Essentially, without the city's intervention and or the direct realignment of the funding, we're going to be able to maintain most of the benefits that are in place. These are very critical. We understand what the impact is locally, and it's particularly around those investments we've made in housing. Our council committed last year to $14 million, which is really showing benefits in terms of making sure more individuals are housed. And what this does is really sustain and support that investment and helps us move forward.
So for the most part, people who have been receiving benefits that have been counting on them, they're going to continue to receive those benefits? Is that what you're saying?
They'll see the majority of things in place in January as they are today. There are, obviously, we have to reduce some items, and in some instances we won't be able to approve everything and have to look at other alternatives. And
Councillor, I guess we don't know yet what some of those areas are where those changes are going to take place, right? The devil's in the details here, but you're not at the level yet of making decisions on what's staying and what's going.
Yeah, that's right. And I think it's important for folks to understand that, Aaron and his staff have provided in their budgetary planning for an emergency contingency fund. So there'll still be that capacity to respond to things that are dire urgent need. A lot of what the city has done historically has been to top up or improve upon kind of the benefit level that was passed along by the province. So with their level decreasing further, we have to shift some of our money. So, a good example would be a case where, something was provided before through the province's assistive devices program, and we would top that up so you could have a better piece of equipment or something a little more flexible for you. We may not be able to do that anymore in all cases, and you'll have to take what it is that the province has to offer through their program. That allows us to shift the money as we must do in order to ensure that the $14 million that we've invested in that housing and homelessness plan, which is ongoing, is protected. We can't have folks we can't be housing them through the front door and then having people fall out of housing through the back door.
Given the financial pressure that the province is under right now, is it realistic to assume that this is going to be the dynamic going forward for the next few years, that they're going to keep downloading on municipalities more and more services, or reducing the funding that they pass on to a city like Ottawa to support some of the things that we're doing?
I think, when you're talking about the other levels of government and how they relate, no question the province is still a great partner for the City of Ottawa. There's many areas in which they are funding us, and we look at things like light rail and those types of projects where they're still at the table, of course, with us. But it's no question in social services this signals a shift in their kind of realignment and how they're dealing with their funds. So it's going to mean an impact on us, and I think it's probably going to be a lasting, ongoing impact, and we're just going to have to figure out how we deal with it.
Are we prepared for more downloading, though? If it starts to happen more and more, have we got the resources to do something about that, or is it going to represent big changes at the city?
Well, I mean, if you're talking citywide, obviously, you know, we were big proponents of the upload that was done, and certainly us and all the other municipalities want to protect the integrity of that upload and hold the government to its commitment, you know, to maintain that and not download things through the back door. If you're talking within the social services envelope, I mean, we see those pressures mounting across Ottawa and across the province. So I think it's going to mean just stretching the dollars further. And that's going to be here, and that's going to be in every other municipality as well.
Are there other changes to the budget that are worth noting in your department? Are there other things that are going to be done differently as a result of the 2013 budget?
I wouldn't say so much as part of the 2013 budget, more I think the priority that council set around integrating our community and social services. So we're no longer going to be looking at things in just bundles of social assistance, housing, childcare, community supports. This whole budget process has been looking at it in terms of overall, how do we impact what we're going to do socially? And I think it speaks to a lot of internally, we're looking at efficiencies, for example, and making sure that we're spending the money well, but also we're administrating it well. And that's a journey that we're certainly going to continue.
And just in terms of what we can afford to do and what we can't afford to do as a result of the changes this year and what might be coming down the road, how do we make decisions about that? How do we establish the priorities or the framework to decide we can pay for this, but we can no longer afford to pay for that?
Well, I mean, I think obviously council has made the decision that you know, preventing homelessness and getting folks into housing is job one. It costs us so much less to help somebody if we know where to find them, if they have a roof over their head. So that is where the emphasis is going to be on our dollars, and that was you know, good guidance. But we didn't do this in a vacuum. This was guidance provided to us by a lot of the social agencies across the city. So we're going to try and continue our emphasis on that area, that aspect. There's always going to be cases of dire need, and those are the reasons that we've made, you know, that contingency fund available. The other thing too, though, Aaron brings up a good point, is, you know, just doing what we do better. And Aaron's department has moved to their centers to a lot of conjoined facilities where there are other social service providers in the building. So you don't walk in anymore and say, okay, now you visited the city, you know, go across town and visit this agency and they'll help you with this. He's brought them in.
So can you give an example of the benefit of helping somebody and keeping them in their home, and you know, the relatively small cost that might be associated with that compared to what the cost would be if their rent, if they weren't able to pay their rent and they were kicked out of their home, or if they couldn't pay their heating bill and were cut off, for example?
So obviously the first thing is keeping people where they are if they're housed is job one. When someone is evicted from their accommodation over having not paid hydro arrears or rent, we now kick into, we need to shelter these individuals. And the cost per day to shelter far exceeds what it's going to cost you to actually keep someone housed. We also don't have an overabundance of housing in the city. It's a tight market. So anyone who's housed, we want to keep them housed. So there's not just the cost of the eviction, there's social supports, upheavals, it's disruptive to families. It's just not the way to go. It costs far more to try and get somebody into housing than it does to keep someone there for what often amounts to a few $100s.
All right, we'll have to stop there, but thank you both, and we'll continue to watch in the months ahead because you will be talking about this some more and talking about some of the details of how it plays out early in the new year. For sure. Thank you both.
Thanks very much, Mark.
And we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about the impact of the new budget on transit. We'll be right back on Talk Ottawa.